Hello, and welcome to my June newsletter video update. The markets have certainly been churning since my last update to you, and I have lots to share with you, including an update on my weekly system trades as well as my daily system trades. If you missed my last newsletter video, you can view it from my website or my YouTube channel. Now, before I get started, I just need to remind you that I'm not licensed to provide any personal investment advice. This video and all the charts and trades I am sharing are for illustrative purposes only, and I am just showing you how I view the current market and sharing this with you. So let's check out what's been happening in the market. I'm just going to go over to Metastock now, and on the screen here is a chart of the ASX 200. Now, the ASX 200 had been churning around and had had great difficulty trying to break through the 6,000 level. And then it has now moved lower and failed to move beyond the 6,000 level and started to make lower lows, even breaking the 5,550 level as well. So it's not looking very healthy anymore, and that moving average line now is rolling over and starting to fall, and the share price is clearly below it. If we move over to the daily chart, because this is a weekly chart, you can see how it's been churning around. You can see this 6,000 level here, and you can see how it's been going sideways here since February, and then it broke through at the start of May. It tried to recover, but then it fell very heavily and has moved lower. So right now the Aussie market has had a very strong breakdown, and I've got a mix of short and still some long trades running, but I have started to pick up some short trades since this drop has occurred in the market, and I'll be sharing some of these trades with you shortly. Let's now jump on over and see what the S&P 500 has been doing over this same period as well. So here's a weekly chart of the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 is still very healthy with that moving average line rising and the share price still above it. It has started to pause a little bit around this level here, and if we move on over to the daily chart, you can really see where that pause has happened around February as well, and it has been churning sideways. It has tried to move higher and has moved higher a little bit, but overall it hasn't been able to have that really strong rise. But it is still healthy. There's still an uptrend line in place, and as you saw from the weekly chart, that moving average line is rising and the share price is above it. So that's a quick overview of what's been happening in the marketplace in both the Aussie and the US markets. Next, I want to share with you some trades from both my daily and my weekly trading systems. As you know, I predominantly trade two systems. I trade a long-term weekly system with shares and a medium-term daily system with CFDs. In each of my newsletter videos, I always update you with a few of my trades from my daily system and share with how they are progressing with each new video that I do. Then every few months I like to update you on a couple of my weekly system trades. So let me share some of these weekly system trades with you first, and then we'll have a look at some of my daily system trades. So I'm just going to go back over to Metastock now. Now on this screen here is a chart of Tabcorp. Now I shared this trade with you back about 6 months ago in a newsletter video update, and I want to give you an update on how it's progressed since. I entered into this share on the 1st of May 2014 at $3.80 when it burst through a resistance level. It had been trading sideways for a long period of time, and it actually closed above this level. By the end of the week it had closed lower, but I had already entered into the trade. And every time you see a blue arrow on the chart, that is when my weekly trading system gave me a signal, and if it had then broken through resistance, I want to enter into the trade, and that's exactly what I did. Now it didn't do a whole lot to start with, but my stop loss wasn't hit, and then it finally burst through and really took off. And then it took off strongly again, and each time it made higher highs, as you can see, my stop loss also moved higher. When it stopped moving, that's when the stop loss also stopped moving. Now, I actually exited out of this on the 23rd of February at $5.08. Now, it might look very confusing because you're saying, look, she entered in at $3.80, but the chart's showing $3.45. Now, the reason for this is that on the 10th of February, this share offered a renounceable rights issue, which meant for every 12 shares that I owned, I had the right to buy one new share at $3.70. Now, I discuss rights issues in more detail in the FAQ section of the new upgraded Smart Trading Plan and System Development course, and the sorts of choices of what you can do. So I'm not going to go into detail now of all that. I'm just going to cover what I did with this particular trade. Now, for this trade, I chose to sell out of my rights issue and close down the entire trade before the share readjusted in price. Once the rights issue date is complete, the share price will readjust accordingly and drop in price based on the rights issue offer, and your data provider should readjust the entire chart history of the share accordingly. So that's why the prices are different in here, because I entered in at $3.80, I exited out at $5.08, but once the rights issue was complete and closed in March, that was when the chart readjusted itself, and it readjusted according to the 12-to-1 rights issue. Now, for this trade, I chose to sell out of my rights shares and close down the entire trade before the share readjusted in price, because once the rights issue is complete, as I mentioned, it readjusts in price and it drops accordingly. So the actual share price will drop, and then the full history of the chart will update accordingly, as I've already mentioned. Now, the reason I sold out of the trade is that I found from past experiences shares usually fall or stagnate after a rights issue. And that's what's happened with this share. It has stagnated since it's had its rights issue. Now, the good news was that the rights issue was transferable and I could actually sell the rights issue on the open market instead of taking up the offer. A new share code was created called TAHR, and it traded on the stock market for a set period of time. So it actually traded from the 10th of February to the 24th of February, and then when the offer closed, you had to take up the rights issue, or you could have sold out of it while the rights issue was trading up until the 24th of February. So I chose to sell out of it the day before the rights issue closed on the 23rd of February. So I actually sold the shares at $5.08, and then I sold my rights issued shares at 97 cents each. And that gave me an exit price that was equivalent to $5.16. Now, it might sound very confusing, and it is confusing, and I was very confused when I first had my rights issue many years ago. So what happens is when you own a share when a rights issue is announced, you will get a letter detailing all this and a list of dates of when everything will take place. And your share broker will automatically allocate these to your account, which is what happened for me with this one, and I was automatically allocated with shares in TAHR according to that 12-for-1 rights issue. So to summarise, I held this trade for all of 298 trade days. I made a 37.5% return on the total trade size, and that also includes a dividend amount that I received on the way as well as this rights issue. And I made an R multiple of 2.7. That means this trade was 2.7 times my risk size, because when I open a trade, I never want to lose more than my 1R, which is my risk amount, which is based on a percentage of my capital that I use to position size my trade. And then I want to make sure I get some big winning trades that are multiples of my R. And this is what allows me to be profitable in the market, is I have some big R multiple wins and I keep my losing trades to very small R's, and I want to make sure that no one losing trade exceeds that 1R. So there was a lot to explain with that share, so let's move on to the next one. I'll just close this down now. So here's another weekly trade that I have on the screen here. Now when I look at my weekly trades, they're always in a weekly format. Now I have shared this trade with you earlier in the year. I entered into this trade on the 26th of October 2012, and I also pyramided into it several times according to my trading plan rules. Then I was taken out of the trade when my stop loss was hit on the 13th of October 2014, which was 717 days later. Now the share didn't do a whole lot for a little while. It pretty much went sideways for a couple of months, and then lo and behold it took off, and my weekly trading system brought it back up again, and it had clearly broken through resistance. So I simply re-entered back in, and I still have this trade open now. Now it looks like my stop loss was hit over here, but it was only about 1 or 2 cents away because I had my stop loss sitting below the round number. So it didn't quite get hit. And I've also received a $2 dividend already on this second trade. so I'll keep you updated over the course of the year as to what happens with this trade. So let's move on to another weekly trade that I have only opened just recently. So on the screen here is a share that I've just opened recently. This share came up in my weekly system scan. I liked what I saw. It had broken through resistance and a nice round number of $3. So I entered into it on the 15th of May at $3.11. And you can see an ascending triangle that's built up in here. So you can see how there's an uptrend line building up to a resistance level, and then it pushed through it. And I liked what I saw at the end of that week, so I simply entered into it. The share had already been healthy prior to that, and you can see all the beautiful weekly system signals I was getting in here. And then once it became unhealthy and that moving average line rolled over and the share price went below it, I didn't get any more entry signals. I've only just started to get entry signals again in here. So that's showing me that the share is now becoming healthy again, and I want to get into it again. So it came up in my weekly scan, and so I simply entered into it. Sometimes I'll enter into it the next week and I'll wait for a clear signal. Other times I'll just enter into it straight away. Now, of course, I've got no idea what's going to happen with this trade, but I've position sized it accordingly. I have my stop loss in place, and I'll just trade it as per my trading plan system rules and see what pans out. So that's an update on some of my weekly trades, and as I mentioned, I'll share them with you every few months, and you can see what progresses. Because the weekly system is a long-term system, it's not something that I'm actively trading all the time, and I only look at those trades once a week. So let's now go over and look at some of my daily system trades. So I'll just close this trade down now. So on the screen here is Adelaide Brighton. I shared this trade with you in my last newsletter video update. The share had been very healthy and moving higher, broke through the $4 resistance level, and I didn't enter into it straight away. It then continued higher and moved into blue sky territory. And that means the share had never traded at this price before. So I entered into it when it moved into blue sky territory. It moved higher, it moved a little bit down, and it continued to move, but then it started to stagnate, and as you can see, my stop loss also started to stagnate. I was never able to get my stop loss up to break even. It was sitting slightly below it. So after 67 trade days, I just exited with a time stop. I usually give my daily system about 30 trade days, and if I haven't been able to get my stop loss up to a break-even level, I will exit a trade. But because this trade was close to break-even and it had slowly been edging higher each time, I wasn't concerned. But then I could clearly see it was going sideways here, and that was when I became concerned, and it did have a gap down in there as well. So I simply decided it had been long enough. My stop loss still was not at break-even, and I was happy to give this trade away and move my money into something else. And the Australian stock market was also not healthy anymore and was starting to fall. So there's a lot of weight of evidence in here to act on that time stop. So I held that trade for 67 trade days. I made a very small return. So I made a 3.3% on the total trade size. It was a CFD trade, which had a 7.5% margin, so I made a 44% amount on the margin. So that's a good example of a time stop. And now that I'm talking about time stops, let me show you another trade that I've actually exited on a time stop. Because when the market really started to stagnate and then began to fall, I had a whole lot of shares that just were not going anywhere, so I acted on time stops. I also had some stop losses hit, and then I started to take on board some short trades. So I'll just close this trade down now. So on the screen here is another good example of a trade that I took a time stop on. This share had been very healthy. It had had a strong rise, then it fell a little bit, and then it really had a strong rise, and this is where I entered into it on the 25th of March at $2.77 because it came up in my daily scan when I ran it. And when I talk about coming up in my scan, that's when I hit the Explorer button. That's when I press my scan, I press Explore, I say OK, it runs a scan, and then the share comes up in the report. So on that particular day, that share would have come up in that report. And I liked what I saw, so I simply entered into it. It then fell back a little bit, but my stop loss wasn't actually hit because I had my stop loss sitting below the $2.50 level in here. I actually took a wider stop loss on this one to make sure it was sitting technically below its last lot of lows. And then once it started to move higher, that's when I kicked in my usual stop loss that I use. But then it's just started to go sideways. And after 54 trade days, my stop loss still hadn't moved to break even. I did give it longer than I usually would because I was hoping it might become healthy, especially because there was an uptrend line in place and it was holding that uptrend. But when it started to look weak around the uptrend line and the market was also very weak, I exited out based on a time stop. So I exited out on the 18th of May. I made a negative 1.2% return on the total trade size and a negative 12% on the margin. And it was a very small multiple loss on that one. So it was, as you can see, a very small loss, entry of 277, exit of 274. Now the stop loss still wouldn't have been hit, but I'd given this trade long enough to prove itself to me and it really wasn't doing anything and my stop loss just was not moving up. So it was time to move my money into something better. So next I want to share with you, not every trade's going to be a winning trade, and because the market had started to stagnate and then started to fall, I hit some time stops. I also hit some stop losses and I did take some losses before I turned around and started short selling. So let me show you an example of a losing trade because I want to show you that not every trade's going to be a winner, but as long as you keep those losses small, that's the most important thing. So I'll just exit this trade here. So this is a trade I undertook on Cenex Energy. It was a beautiful breakout trade. The share had been trending sideways since December. It broke out. I got an entry signal with my system. I didn't enter in at that stage. I wanted to see if it was definitely going to continue its move. It fell back, got a bit of support, and then it really took off with a gap move and strong volume. I liked what I saw, so I simply entered in on the 24th of April at 45.5 cents. Unfortunately, it failed to go any higher and it simply collapsed and hit my stop loss. So I exited out 12 trade days later at 38 cents. Made a negative return of 16% on the total trade size and negative 165% on the margin amount because it was a 10% margin. Now they sound like they're very high figures, but the reality is it was only a small trade. It was only 45.5 cents with a fall of 38 cents. And I lost less than 1R. And the reason why it was less than a 1R loss is because the share did move up a little bit after I entered into it and my stop loss also did move up a little bit. So that's a good example to show you that you just don't know what's going to happen. It might look like a beautiful entry, but it simply fails. And I'm pleased I got out of it because now it's trading down here at 31 cents. So it definitely did get worse. But along the way I have picked up some nice daily swing trades that I still have open and running right now. And the reason why they're open and running is because my stop loss hasn't been hit. And I will always have a longer hold time on those winning trades. This was a losing trade, so it had a very short hold time. So let me share now with you two trades that I still have open. On the screen here is a short trade that I have open. This share had been trending sideways. It had been a very healthy share up until this point, and then it broke through support and the nice round number of $90, came up in my daily short scan. I liked what I saw, so I entered into it. It fell very strongly after I entered. It then moved up a little bit, and then it fell heavily again. Now it's right near a resistance point here from the past at the moment, so I have tightened my stop loss up slightly. So if it isn't able to move lower, then I have protected a little bit more profits on this one. So I'll keep you updated with how this performs in my upcoming newsletter videos. So let's move on to another trade I still have open. On the screen here is a long trade that I still have open and running. I bought into this one on the 1st of May. This share had already become unhealthy and then it started to pause and get support around this level. And then it moved up to new highs and broke through a resistance level and it came up in my daily scan and it had above average volume. So I liked what I saw, so I entered into it. It's moved up beautifully since I've entered into it and so has my stop loss. It's even moved higher again. Now I have tightened my stop loss up on this one because, as we know, the market is falling and I am going against the overall market trend right now, but because this share is still very healthy, I want to stick with it, and we'll see what pans out with this one, and I'll keep you updated. So I've really shared a good variety of trades with you now, and I want to next talk about my Smart Trading Plan and System Development course, because I'm very excited because I've just upgraded this course and it just went live this week. I've been working all year recording webinar videos and updating this course, and this course is now more comprehensive and chock full of my trading strategies and techniques, and it is now live. And I'm giving you one last chance to buy in before the price rises on the 15th of June. So if you like my style of trading and want to know more about my trading systems and strategies, this is the course for you. This new upgraded course offers 13 course sessions with 15 webinar videos that I have personally recorded for you to watch on the exclusive course website. So when you purchase the course, you get a username and password to log into that course website. Each webinar video runs for no longer than an hour each in duration. I also have the MP3 audio recordings of the webinars available for you to download, so if you prefer to listen to the audios rather than watch the video, you have that choice as well, because we all have different learning styles. Some people prefer to watch videos, other people prefer to listen, then you've got others that prefer to read. So if you prefer to read, I also have the comprehensive course notes available as well. Along with that, most course sessions also have a short supporting video that shows you how I apply what I have covered in that course session into the market. I also have updated charts of all my trades in the course notes, and there's additional course sessions on market exposure guidelines, my aggressive exit strategy, and other trading strategies I use under different market conditions, as well as frequently asked questions, which are a whole lot of questions I have collated over the years from my mastermind webinars and emails that I have received. Now, as this is an online course, you can undertake this in the comfort of your own home or office. You can work at your own pace, and you can repeat the course as many times as you like. You can also re-listen to certain sessions and download the audios and take them on the run with you. Now, in the course, I actually guide you step by step through my trading plan. I provide you with the MetaStock codes to my trading systems, and I teach you all about the secrets to my trading success, and I show you exactly how I trade the market and what I do each day, each week, each month, and each quarter. I basically want you to get inside my head and discover how I trade the stock market. The course is also available on its own, or you can buy it packaged in the Deluxe or Ultimate Smart Training Packs with extra inclusions, such as my Smart Trader spreadsheet, which will help you track and manage your trading. Also MetaStock training if you have purchased MetaStock. If you don't have MetaStock and you're thinking of buying it, then I recommend Oracle Trader, and I have information about them on my website. If you have another charting software package, then I explain what all the codes to my trading system means so that you can code it into your charting software. I also offer a mastermind support program so I can continue to support you in your trading, and that's included in these packages as well. Plus there's one-on-one mentoring included in my Ultimate Smart Training Pack. So you have a few choices with how you can buy this course, either on its own or in one of these training packs. And the good news is you can buy the course right now until the 15th of June at the original course price, because after the 15th of June it will be rising by over $500, and so will those training packs. So you've got one last chance to buy now at the current price, or lock in a payment plan, which I do have available on the Deluxe and Ultimate Smart Training Packs. But don't just take my word for it. I have plenty of rave reviews on my website. Here's one here. Thank you, Justine. Taking your course is the best thing I ever did in my life. It would have taken me years to get to the level that I'm at now with my trading. I think anybody who is indeed serious of being a trader should take your course. I wish I had have known about you 2 years ago, but still not too late. I also have rave reviews from people all over the world. Here's one from a client in the USA. Thank you. What I learned from your Deluxe Smart Training Pack is well beyond any expectation I had. What made the most impact on me was your money and risk management system. I can't tell you the dramatic impact this has had on how I invest. The requirement to build a trading plan was a terrific exercise and has absolutely improved my discipline and approach. Again, I can't thank you enough. And the reason why he says the requirement to build a trading plan is at the start of the course I give you a trading plan template, and I recommend that you work through that trading plan template as you go through each session of the course. And the reason why the money management had such an impact on him is because I have 3 course sessions just dedicated to risk and money management. Because the reality of trading is we have no control over what the stock market's going to do. I've just shared a range of trades with you, and you've seen a losing trade in there and how I kept those losses small. And you've seen some winning trades and how I let those winners run. And then I have some other stop strategies I use along the way as well. So I share all this with you in the Smart Trading Plan and System Development course. And if you haven't already received my free special report, simply enter your name and email on the homepage and I will send you my top 10 tips to smarter trading, and you'll also get notified when my next newsletter video is available. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My contact details are in the Contact Us area of my website. Goodbye for now.